Our next speaker is Mark Falz, who will be talking about nicotine plus a high-fat diet triggering cardiac myocyte apoptosis.
Good afternoon. Hello?
Lower. How's that?
Good.
Yeah, that's better.
Good afternoon.
Nope, better where it was.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Falz. I'm an intern here at Charles Drew University, and I'd like to start off my presentation with a little background on my study. So heart failure is one of the leading causes of death, affecting more than 20 million people worldwide, and cardiac myocyte apoptosis plays a causal role in heart failure. Defects in myocardial metabolic processes resulting in lowered ATP production appears to be a major contributor to heart failure. A key player involved in regulating myocardial metabolism is AMP activated protein kinase, a major regulatory kinase controlling numerous metabolic pathways. Activation of AMPK increases energy generating pathways while reducing energy consuming pathways to restore energy homeostasis. In a healthy adult heart, 50 to 75% of its ATP come from fatty acid oxidation. In the heart, a close correlation exists between increased AMPK activity and increased fatty acid oxidation. Cardiac AMPK activation regulates energy homeostasis, reduces reactive oxygen species, and promotes glucose uptake. As AMPK activation has been identified as an attractive target for treatment of several diseases, there have been a growing interest from the pharmaceutical industry to develop AMPK agonists. So this illustration shows the cardiac energy metabolism in a healthy heart. In heart failure, glucose and fatty acid uptake is downregulated, along with glycolysis, glucose oxidation, beta oxidation, and net ATP production. Activated AMPK can reverse these conditions, keeping normal ATP production and combating heart failure. So the objective of our study is to characterize the key molecular components of the effector pathways by which nicotine plus a high-fat diet triggers cardiomyocyte apoptosis. Our experimental protocol involves adult mice divided into 5 groups. For a duration of 16 weeks, they are fed either a normal diet of 5% fat or a high-fat diet of 60% of calories derived from fat. Mice on either diet received twice daily intraperitoneal injections of nicotine or saline. The 5th group of mice received twice daily IP injections of mecamelamine, non-selective nicotinic acetylcholine receptor antagonist, in addition to the high-fat diet and nicotine. So using a hematoxin and eosin stain, we saw a high ventricular lipid accumulation in mice fed a high-fat diet. However, with the addition of nicotine to a high-fat diet, there was relatively low fat accumulation, almost as low as normal diet. Using tunnel, a DUTP and label for detecting severe DNA fragmentation damage, we were able to quantify the additive effects of nicotine in a high-fat diet on cardiomyocyte apoptosis. In normal diet, within without nicotine, and in high-fat diet only group, there was a very low levels of apoptosis. However, in the high-fat diet and nicotine group, there was a significant increase in positive apoptotic nuclei. The last 2 pictures here show electron micrographs that were taken of the high-fat diet and nicotine groups. These nuclei are seen undergoing pycnosis, a hallmark process of apoptosis where chromatin DNA condenses against the nuclear envelope. So sustained expression for AMPK shows the highest intensity as normal diet as expected. There was a slightly reduced expression in the presence of nicotine and in the high-fat diet alone group. But when high-fat diet and nicotine were combined, expression of active AMPK diminished significantly. The addition of nicotine antagonist, MECA, to the high-fat diet and nicotine group is able to return AMPK expression to that of normal diet plus nicotine and the high-fat diet only group. So 4-HNE is an alpha-beta unsaturated hydroxyalkanol produced by lipid peroxidation, and it's a biomarker for oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is known to induce activation of the apoptotic pathways. And compared to the relatively low expression of 4-HNE in ND with and without nicotine, there was the highest expression was in high-fat diet plus nicotine, followed by high-fat diet alone. So caspases are protease proteins working to initiate apoptosis. Caspase 2 is an initiator caspase working upstream of caspase activation in the mitochondria-dependent intrinsic pathway signaling. The expression of active caspase 2 is found highest in groups with nicotine, regardless of diet. Caspase 9 is a key initiator caspase in the intrinsic apoptotic pathway after the release of chromosome C from the mitochondria. Like 4-HNE, we saw the highest expression in the high-fat diet plus nicotine group, followed by the high-fat diet plus saline group. Caspase 3 is the final executioner caspase in the apoptotic pathway. The staining, again, showed minimal expression in normal diet and the highest expression in high-fat diet plus nicotine by far. So, although FGF22 is mainly a liver-derived hormone that regulates glucose and lipid metabolism in an endocrine manner, studies have shown it to have cardioprotective effects as well. Opposite to AMPK, FGF21 was reduced in the high-fat diet plus saline group instead of the high-fat diet plus nicotine group. SIRT1, or SIRT1 is an intracellular regulatory protein that can be activated by FGF21 to improve insulin sensitivity and activate transcriptional regulators for genes involved in mitochondrial biogenesis, fatty acid oxidation, and gluconeogenesis. In the comparisons between the group, it had the same expressions as FGF21. So in summary, nicotine treatment reduced high-fat diet-induced ventricular lipid accumulation. Compared to mice on a normal diet or a high-fat diet alone, combined treatment with nicotine and high-fat diet triggered cardiomyocyte apoptosis. Mecamylamine, the non-selective acetylcholine receptor antagonist, significantly prevented the nicotine plus high-fat diet-induced cardiomyocyte apoptosis. Induction of cardiomyocyte apoptosis was accompanied by the inactivation of AMPK and was associated with the increased oxidative stress, the activation of caspase 2, and the activation of mitochondria-dependent intrinsic pathway signaling. Compared to mice on a normal diet with or without nicotine, mice on a high-fat diet alone significantly decreased the expression of SIRT1 and FGF21, which could be restored by combining nicotine with a high-fat diet, but which was blocked by the addition of mecamylamine to nicotine plus a high-fat diet. The opposing roles of nicotine in regulation of ventricular lipid accumulation and cardiomyocyte apoptosis in mice on a high-fat diet. Greater oxidative stress coupled with inactivation of AMPK is critical for nicotine plus a high-fat diet-induced cardiomyocyte apoptosis. Caspase 2 mediated intrinsic pathway signaling is involved in nicotine plus a high-fat diet-induced cardiomyocyte apoptosis. And the detrimental effect of nicotine on cardiomyocyte apoptosis in mice on a high-fat diet was completely blocked by MECA, which suggests the direct role of nicotine in inducing cardiomyocyte apoptosis in diet-induced obese mice. Nicotine-induced cardiomyocyte apoptosis in high-fat diet mice is, however, independent of SIRT1 and FGF21. Nicotine, on the other hand, could prevent, through stimulation of SIRT1 and FGF21, high-fat diet-induced ventricular lipid accumulation. These results, together with earlier observations that cardiomyocyte apoptosis plays a causal role in a variety of cardiovascular diseases, further suggest that nicotine, including e-cigarettes and vaping, is likely to exacerbate the effects of high-fat diet on cardiac abnormalities in obese patients. An important question remaining is if the activation of AMPK is sufficient to overcome impaired cardiac metabolic processes that have already occurred in the pathogenesis of heart failure. So thank you for your time.
Great job, Mark. We have time for one question. Quick question? Nope. Okay. Thank you, Mark.